Jennifer from Fiber Flux. In this video, we're going to learn how to crochet this pretty quick gift fringe scarf. This is a fun and very quick project that is part of our 12 weeks of gifting series on Fiber Flux. Every week from now till the end of December, we're going to be making a quick gift kind of project. So we've done a few already, and I'll put the link down below. I have a directory that you can refer to and see all the past projects and also see the schedule of what's to come. So this is going to be an easy scarf. We're going to learn how to work this easy stitch with just double crochets, single crochets, and chains. And we're going to learn how to switch colors, or you can make your solid. And then finally, we're going to learn how to add this beautiful fringe to the bottom. Now the finished scarf measures about 70 inches long, so it's nice and long, but you can make it however long you'd like it to be. I generally go by the rule of going from hip around the neck and back to the hip, and then I made mine just a tad bit longer. The scarf is about 6 inches wide. And then the fringe, the length of the scarf, that 70 inches I was telling you about, that doesn't include the fringe. So the fringe is completely optional, and I made my fringe 8 inches long at either end, so it'll add 8 inches to both sides, okay, for a total of 16 extra inches, okay? We're going to talk about the supplies, and then we're going to jump right into the tutorial. So let's get started. For this project, you'll need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle, a ruler or tape measure to get that length that you want. We're going to be using an 8mm L crochet hook, and the yarn we'll be using is called Super Saver Chunky by Red Heart. Now for the 12 weeks of gifting series that this is part of, 12 quick gifts leading up to the holiday, we're going to be using the same yarn for all of the projects. We're just switching up the colors. Now, obviously, feel free to use any colors you like, but this Super Saver Chunky is 173 yards, unless you're using the heathers, like just this one here. That's 168 yards. And if you need to substitute yarn, look for, on the back of the yarn label, look for a yarn that recommends the 8mm L crochet hook, which we have here, and is a 5 or bulky on the yarn weight scale. Now I'm going to be using 3 skeins of this yarn, the buff, which is this kind of golden sort of tan color, the gray heather, and the flamingo. Now when you're making scarves for people, it's helpful to check in and see what colors they like, or notice what colors they're wearing, things like that, and make sure the colors kind of all go together. I did sort of 2 neutrals and a bright. I thought that that was fun together. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start with this dark gray yarn first, and then we're going to later on learn how to switch colors. So to begin, we're going to put a slip knot on our hook. Wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop, bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook, bring up the loop, and tighten. The next thing we're going to do is our starting chain. So let me just zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. We'll slide this yarn out of the way. There we go. Okay, so we're going to chain 18. To make a chain, wrap yarn around hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, get some more yarn here, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So here is our starting chain, and it's not super tight or super loose. It's kind of in the middle because we want to be able to work our stitches into this chain. So for row 1, in the second chain from the hook, we're going to work a single crochet. So this loop here does not count, so go 1 and 2, the second chain from the hook, and we're going to work a single crochet. So insert the hook into that chain, bring up a loop. You'll have 2 loops on your hook, and bring it through both, wrap yarn around hook and bring it through both loops. Then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to skip 3 chains. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to work a single crochet into the chain after that. So you'll have here a little loop here. Then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Skip 3 chains. 1, 2, 3. Work a single crochet into the chain after that. Then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, skip 3 chains. 1, 2, 3, work a single crochet into the chain after that. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 3 chains. 1, 2, 3, chain 3. 1, 2, 3, skip 3 chains. 1, 2, 3, and in that very last chain, work a single crochet. Just like that. So row 1 is complete. You'll have these 4 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? For row 2, what we're going to do is chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn our work. Then we're going to work 3 double crochet, chain 1 into each one of these. Remember these loops? This is also called the chain 3 space, okay? So we're going to work 3 double crochets in each one of these loops, okay? So to make a double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert the hook into that space, that chain 3 space, bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. And then what I like to do is sort of slide it down a little bit because we're going to fit some more in here. So work another double crochet and a 3rd double crochet, just like that. Then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to work 3 double crochets in that next chain 3 space, that big loop that we created in the previous row. So work your 3 double crochets. Get some more yarn off our skein here. So that was 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to work 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Just like that. Then we're going to chain 1, and then in this last loop we're going to do the same thing. 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3, chain 1, and then what we're going to do is in this turning chain here from the previous row, we're going to work just 1 double crochet into that turning chain. That chain you see on the side there, okay? So row 2 is complete. So it should look kind of like that, groups of 3 double crochets all the way across. Okay, so for row 3, now rows 2 and 3 are the rows you'll repeat for the entire scarf. So for row 3, we're going to chain 1 this time and turn. And then in this first space you see, we're going to work a single crochet. And then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then work a single crochet into the next space. So hop over those 3 double crochets from the previous row and go into that space and work a single crochet. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, hop over to that next space, work a single crochet. Whoops, I just dropped my stitch, so we can next chain 3, 1, 2, 3, work a single crochet into the next space between those groups of 3 double crochets. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, work a single crochet into that next space. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to hop around and we're going to work a single crochet into that turning chain space. Okay? So that is our repeat. So we're going to be repeating rows 2 and 3, 2 and 3 over and over and over again for the entire scarf. Now I'm going to work a few rows and then I'm going to show you how to switch colors. So we're going to be adding a little bit of color next into the next part of this video. Alright, I've stitched this scarf up a little bit of a ways here so you can see that, let me just get that last stitch in there. Okay, so now we're ready to switch colors. Now I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 repeats of rows 2 and 3. Okay, So what we want to do, now there's lots of ways to switch colors or switch yarn balls when you run out of yarn. I like to cut the yarn and tie the new one right on, but it's really up to you how you prefer to do it, okay? So what I'm going to do is just cut the yarn and fasten off, and we can deal with all these ends later. Give it a nice tug. And let's go with this flamingo. It's such a beautiful color. All right, so we have our flamingo color, and what we're going to do is where we fastened off, just reinsert the hook back into that stitch. And then we're going to get our new color, and we're going to just hook it right on there and bring the new yarn through, and then just tie it right on. So go ahead and just tie it on there, nice and snug. And then you're ready to continue. So we're going to get these tails out of the way. We'll deal with those later. So what we're going to do now is, let me just scoot everything out of the way. We're going to reinsert the hook. Now I'll zoom in. There we go. Okay, so we're going to reinsert the hook back into that same stitch, bring up a loop, and now we're ready to continue. So I left off on row 2, so I'm ready to go back to row, wait a minute, I left off on row 3, so I'm going to go back to row 2. All right, so I'm just going to do my chain, do my single crochet into the first space, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, work your single crochet, and then just continue on with the pattern, okay? All right, so now you can continue your scarf, and you can really make it as long as you like. You can work it until all of this yarn has disappeared. But if you're doing that, just make sure that you save enough yarn at the end to do the fringe, because I'm going to show you how to do the fringe. And you'll also notice that when you start switching colors, it's going to sort of spike down into the next color. It almost looks like it's stitched on or something like that. So it's really fun. It's a really fun stitch to play around with. It's called the brick stitch. I've also heard people say it looks like a floating granny stitch. So you're just going to continue on with your rows 2 and 3, 2 and 3 over and over and over. You can always back up the video if need be. And we're going to continue with the length of our scarf. Just working that last double crochet of our scarf. And then what we're going to do is, now I've already snipped mine, but we're going to fasten off. So snip it and then wrap yarn around hook and pull it all the way through. And our scarf is complete. Now you can kind of see the wonderful progress that we made with all of these beautiful colors here. The last things we have to do, we have 2 things we need to do. 1 is take care of all of these ends, and 2 is add some fringe. So let's take care of the ends first, and then we'll put some pretty fringe on this. Now, the fringe is completely optional. You can really do whatever you like. Okay, so whenever you have stripe, now if you did a solid color, you may have less ends than I do. But whenever you have stripes or multicolors, you're going to have a lot of ends to weave in. So I'm going to just grab one color here. This is the buff color, and just thread it into my tapestry needle. And when I weave it in, I just need to stay in the buff area. If I start going into this gray over here, it'll show and look not so nice. So we spent all the time making this beautiful scarf. So let's spend a little extra time to do some nice neat finish work to finish things off, okay? Just going in through these loops here. Now this is scarf is reversible. Now the double crochets that we work do have like a front and a back to them, but it's very subtle. I mean, as you can see, this is the quote back. It looks a little bit different, but when you wear it, it really can kind of be wrapped however. All right, and then we're just going to trim that end, okay? And then we're just going to repeat for all of the other tails that we have on our scarf. So go ahead and do that, and when we rejoin, we'll add some pretty fringe to our scarf next. All of our ends are woven in, and now we can add the fringe. Now, like I mentioned before, it's completely optional. I began and ended my scarf in this charcoal color, so I am going to do a little bit of contrast and kind of mix the colors up for the fringe. I have this buff and the flamingo, so I thought we could do the fringe in sort of a mix of those 2 colors. Okay, so let me scoot this stuff out of the way. Now, if you've never done fringe before, it's super duper easy. Let me just scoot this up here. What we're going to do is Now, you don't have to measure. I'm just going to do this to show you. You could do a length of your arm as a measurement, or a piece of yarn. You could even clip a piece of yarn a certain length. But let me just lay this here so you can get an idea. I'm going to do alternating flamingo and buff all the way across, okay? So what we're going to do is grab some of our yarn. Let's do the first one in the flamingo. And I'm going to go to about, let's see, let me lay my thing down here. Let's go to about 10 inches. You want to make it a little bit longer because we're going to give it a little haircut at the end, okay? So go to about 10, even 12 inches if you like, and then fold it in half. And see, we're at the 10 inches again. Fold it in half, and then fold it in half, just like that, okay? Now, take your yarn, give it a little snip. Okay, so then what we're going to do is grab our crochet hook, and then at the top, so you, at one end you'll have 2 ends and a loop. At the other end you'll have 2 loops. So grab the end with 2 loops, and you can kind of put your finger through it like that. And we're going to grab one of the ends of our scarf. I like to do one at one end, one at the other, one in the center, and then fill it in, okay? That way it's kind of evenly distributed. So go into any of your corners here, insert your hook, grab those 2 loops, pull it through, and then you can take your hand and sort of feed the bottom through, just like that, okay? And give it a tight, just like a snug it up a little bit there, just like that, okay? You don't want to pull it really, really hard. It'll distort your scarf. So let's see what we have. We have a loop at the bottom. Don't even worry about that right now. We're going to kind of ignore that, and then at the end we'll give it a snip across. You can make it short, you can make it longer, but we're going to go through and do that. Let's do one more together, okay? Now we had our 10 inch as a guide. You can do it however you like, but we're going to do 10 inches, fold, 10 inches, fold, 10 inches, fold, 10 inches. If you can't remember how many times you have to fold it, just make sure you're going to end up with 2 loops at one end, okay? Now what we're going to do is grab our hook, insert it into the other end, bring it through, and then bring those ends through, just like that, okay? And then tighten it up, and now we have 2, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do my next one in the center, and then sort of fill in. You can use these spaces as a guideline to do that, so it's evenly spaced. So let's do that again. Let's do 10 inches, fold, 10 inches, fold, 10 inches, fold, and end up with 2 loops. Whoops, throwing my scissors everywhere here. Oops, and I dropped my loop. Okay, so let's go in that middle space, bring it through, send those ends in through the loop that you made, and then just kind of tighten it up. Okay, now I'm going to grab the buff color, and we're going to do the same exact thing, but we're going to sort of put them in between, okay? So 10 inches, fold, 10 inches, fold, 10 inches, fold, and snip. Now I like long fringe. You can really clip this however you like. All right, now see that space there? Bring that up and just send it through. Same thing, we're just kind of using those spaces as a guideline here. Okay, and then I don't know why, but this drives me nuts. I like to push those together. Just have, I like it to be like one solid look instead of like a gap there. So if you need to, tends to want to do that though. Okay, so, and then we have one more buff. So 10 inches fold, 10 inches fold, 10 inches and fold. Give it a little snip. Grab your hook, insert it into that space, bring up a loop, and then you're just going to snug that up a little bit. Okay, now you might be cool with what we have here. You may want to add a little more density to your scarf, okay? So what you can do next, now we just went into the spaces, you can add more to each space and make it kind of fuller looking, or you can go in between some of these other stitches up here to kind of see these little loops. You can kind of start going into those loops to do that, okay? So I think I'm going to add a little bit more fringe just to make it look a little bit more dense. And then when we rejoin, we're going to give it a little snip. I'm going to show you how to get it nice and even. All right, so our fringe has been added. Now, if you don't want something as bold as this, you could really do the gray and just sort of make it an extension. But the last thing we want to do is give this a little trim, okay? So I'm just going to go right where these loops are because I do like some long fringe on a scarf. It's totally up to you if you prefer something a little shorter. But we're just going to try to give it a nice straight cut. So I like to do the first cut and then just kind of like shake it out and see if there's any long pieces here. All right, and you want to make sure your scissors are fairly sharp. These could probably use a sharpening. Okay, so you sort of want to like comb it out. Make sure everything's straight. Make sure the edge of your scarf is straight as you're doing that. And then if you have any little long pieces, you can sort of go back and trim those. And then your fringe will be done. And then you'll just want to repeat for the other side as well. So our scarf is complete. So we learned how to crochet the scarf and do the stitch. We learned how to switch colors. We learned how to do all the finish work. And then finally add this really fun fringe at the bottom. So that is how you crochet the quick gift fringe scarf. If you make this scarf, be sure and use the hashtag FiberFluxCal to share your work and any other projects that you'll be making in this series. So stay tuned for next week in our 12 weeks of gifting series. We'll have a brand new project that you can make for gifting as well. This is perfect for someone if you don't know their sizing. You can make it in holiday colors. You can make it in a variety of colors, or their even check with them and see what their favorite colors are as well. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.